Well, they are quite different from each other, and it is important that you choose the right A-level subject for you. So, first of all, if I start with English literature is your traditional English. You study plays, you study poetry, you study drama, and then you discuss the issues within those texts in class, and then you write essays about them. And the range of texts in that course is from the Romantics, Shakespeare, and then we have also modern poetry and modern play. So that's your traditional English literature. There's quite a lot of reading on that course, and you do need to enjoy reading to do that. But it's a fascinating course. It's really, really interesting, and students absolutely love studying it. We then have English language and literature. In many ways, this is quite similar to English literature in that 70% of the course is literature. So you study poetry, plays, and a play, and you also study novels. But in addition to that, there's a language element. So there is some creative writing in the English language and literature course, and we also have some literary non-fiction. So we have books that are non-fiction books that you study as well. English language is the one that is the most different from anything you'll have done at GCSE. So there is no relationship at all between English language A-level and English language GCSE. So for English language A-level, we study the history of English and how it's evolved over time. Things like etymology, so where words come from, and the influence of historical events on the English language. We also look at how children learn to speak and to write and theories surrounding that. There is also a creative writing element in the English language course, and there are absolutely no texts at all that you study in that there's no novels or plays or poetry or anything like that. So it's absolutely all non-fiction. The other thing to note about the English language course is that all of the examinations are unseen. So you get given an unseen text and you have to respond to it using what you've learned during the course. So in English literature, in the first year, we study a collection of modern poetry called Poems of the Decade, a play called A Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams. We also study The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and we study Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Towards the end of the first year, you do some coursework, which the texts are different depending on which teacher you have, and they vary every year as well. Then in the second year, adding to those previous texts, we also look at Twelfth Night by William Shakespeare, and we study Romantic poetry. So that's English literature. In English language and literature, in the first year, we look at the poetry of Jacob Sam La Rose, who was a modern British poet. We also look at Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. And then the third text that we study in English language and literature is Jerusalem by Jez Butterworth, which is a modern play. In the English language and literature coursework, we study a non-fiction text called Stasi-Land by Anna Funder, which is about the fall of the German Democratic Republic and the Stasi. That is then compared with another free choice text, which you study independently. On top of that, we have a non-fiction anthology of texts as well, which range from the 1600s to the modern day. And there are a variety of different types of text. English language, there are no texts in that there are no books that you study. You have to learn content that you then apply to unseen non-fiction texts, such as transcripts of children's writing or extracts from texts from 1550 to the modern day. So the maximum size of classes that we have is about 20 students, but the majority of the classes are a little bit smaller than that. So this year, my smallest class has 10 students, and my largest class has 22. Okay, so as you would expect with an English A-level, you will be doing a large amount of reading, so you have to be prepared for that. In English literature, for example, you will need to read 2 novels in the second term, and you will have also read a play and a collection of poetry. The best students will be reading around outside of the lessons as well, reading texts that are related to the ones that we study in class. English language and literature, I would say, does have slightly less reading in terms of, for example, we only do one novel instead of two, but it is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, so it is quite long. Again, you do need to obviously be prepared for reading if you're going to choose to do a A-level in English literature. And then the final course, English language, the reading that you do for English language is different because we don't have any set texts. So you'll be reading, for example, you might be reading an extract from a text from 1600 at home and annotating it and then coming into class ready to discuss that. Or you might be working on a transcript of some children's speech, but you won't have any texts to read as such for English language. Well, the thing about English is it's a facilitating subject, so there's a very wide range of professions and jobs that you can go into with the subject. But previous students that we've had, many of them go into law, they do a conversion course. We have lots of students go into things like publishing, marketing, advertising. We also obviously have students who go into teaching. We have students who go into journalism. So there's a very, very wide range. You don't have to go into a job which directly relates to the subject. To be honest, I think English goes really well with a very wide range of subjects, but the most common subjects that students combine English with are things like history, sociology, media, film, humanities subjects in general. But we do also get students every year that combine it with subjects like art, drama, and every year we also do get students who do English literature as a single humanities A-level alongside sciences, because if you do English literature you can get into a humanities degree course even if that's the only humanities course that you do. College policy on course changes is that within the first 5 weeks of a A-level course, you are allowed to change, and it would be the same between any English courses because they are different A-levels. The sooner you can decide that you want to change, that's better for you because you'll have less work to catch up in the subject that you start. But up to 5 weeks into the first year, you are able to change between the English courses. In English literature, every half term we have a common assignment, which is an essay that's done in class that's timed, which every student doing the course will complete. We also, for every student before the set timed essay, will have practice writing, which sometimes students will complete at home and sometimes they will complete in class as a practice for the timed essay. In addition to that, in the second year, we have coursework, which you will need to do a lot of writing for. And also towards the exams, you are expected to write an essay more or less every week for all of the 3 English courses. We have 7 teachers in the department, and that includes 1 head of department, 1 deputy, and 2 course leaders. So we provide all of our current students with reading lists that are relevant to the course that they're studying. And for prospective students, we send out a Year 11 study guide before the summer holidays, and that contains suggested reading as well. If you would like to get started on reading for English before receiving your study guide, the best thing to do would be to start reading some of the texts that I've discussed on the earlier question about which texts we study in the courses.